Rod Fleming in the Philippines here, and I want to make this video because a realization has come upon me. Been a long time coming, and eventually I just cracked and I realized I was going to have to come out and tell everyone I'm transgender. I went into the mall last night and I saw this shirt, and it's pink, and I thought, hey, that's a great shirt, I love that colour, so I bought it. And that obviously must mean I'm transgender. Yeah? Obviously, I must be transgender. I'm wearing a pink shirt. And folks, if you think that's ridiculous, that is exactly what is being proposed by autogynephilic so-called trans activists. They're proposing that and I think you got to know me by now, that I can walk into a woman's changing facility and say, I identify as a woman now, look, I'm wearing a pink shirt, so obviously I can use this facility. They're saying that I can do the same in women's changing rooms. They're saying that I can use a women's closed swimming session. Same reason, maybe I'll have to put on a pink bra rather than the pink shirt, but it comes to the same thing, doesn't it? And what about the airhead genders? What about the 167 airhead genders that don't even exist? I could be anything. I could be aerogender or a nanogender or bloody gender. Anything I like. And I just have to say, I'm transgender. That's it. Self-identification. You have to understand that real transsexuals are transsexual. Transgender is a meaningless, utterly meaningless word. And autogynephilic transvestites, because that's what they are not transsexual. I don't care if they've had GRS and a fake cosmetic vagina installed. They're still blokes in a woman's suit. The only real transsexuals are HSTS, that is homosexual transsexuals. And they're transsexual because they are born with the sexuality of the opposite sex. That's what makes them transsexual. Okay? All HSTS, if they're male, are homosexual males. And all HSTS, if they're female, are homosexual women, homosexual females. It's that simple. There are only two genders, and there are only two sexes. And in almost all cases, gender maps directly onto sex. Now, some people might be a bit more masculine, some people might be a bit more feminine. Gender consists of a whole bunch of different parameters. Every single one of them is on a sliding scale, from 0 to 100, or whatever. There's no one thing that defines gender. But when we take the whole mass, the whole group, because we do tend to lump them together, they give us that idea. A person is masculine or a person is feminine. And what determines whether you're masculine or feminine is the kind of partner you want to meet, the kind of person you want to sleep with, to have sex with. That is what defines it. Autogynephilic transvestites are fetishists. They have a paraphilia, that is a fetishistic obsession with themselves as women. There's nothing transsexual about them at all. Even if they do go and have GRS, they remain males with a fetish. In social and sexual terms, HSTS are women if they're born male, or men if they're born female. Because they have the sexuality of the opposite sex, and all they want to really do is to fit into society in such a way that they can unremarkably have comfortable relationships with the kind of partner that they want without anybody going, gosh, that's a bit strange. Gosh, that's a bit weird. Or without their partners fetishizing elements of them that they don't feel comfortable with anyway. An HSTS, MTF, male to feminine HSTS, very few of them will actually penetrate men. It's almost unheard of. Those that do are on the borderline between trans women and femme gay men. Most of the time they don't want to know. Those that do, by the way, have almost always been exposed to it during sex work, paid for sex, and decided, well, actually I quite like this. So they have developed, or they have acquired, an additional level of sexuality which allows them to enjoy sex penetrating men, but most of them, well over 95%, there's no way they're going to penetrate a guy. They're like, no, I don't know what to do with that thing. Don't do it. And most of them don't even like you touching it. I mean, they might not really mind, but it's not a big thing for them. It's not something that they want to have at the centre of their sexual experience. An HSTS MTF, for her, the penis is just something that's there. You know, the bit of her that she's interested in, that's sexy for her, is her anus, her ass. And if you ask an HSTS MTF, she'll tell you. You know, that's where I feel horny. That's what I like. I want to be penetrated. So in sexual terms, they absolutely want to play the role of women. Okay, it's a stereotype, but I have said many times before, you get rid of stereotypes and you get rid of transsexualism, transvestism, the whole transgender thing vanishes as soon as you get rid of stereotypes. It's all about stereotypes. And homosexual transsexualism is about living within social norms for people who want to have sex with the people they want to have sex with. These are males, born males with a female sexuality. They want ordinary straight men. They don't want gay men, because they know gay men are like them. So as far as they're concerned, that's a lesbian relationship, and they ain't going to do any of that. They want a nice, big, strong, straight guy to sort them out, both physically and emotionally, and to be their bulwark, to be their, you know, that solid mass that they can hang on to, that can be there for them, you know. And I'll tell you something. I'll tell you, this is absolutely true. I'll tell you to any of the guys who are out there thinking or considering having a relationship with an HSTS, I'll tell you this. There was never any man who was more loved than the man who has a relationship with a nice HSTS trans woman. It never happened. No woman ever came close to that level of just absolute love. It's amazing. They're amazing people and amazing partners, and there's just no way around that one. They do things that just every single day will amaze you, and you'll go, my God, this person is incredible. And you won't be able to stop yourself from telling her, you know, you're an amazing person. And she'll do that every single day of your life. And all you have to do, all you'll ever have to do, is love her in return for what she is. And that is, guess what? A woman. So I think what we need to do is first of all, we need to get rid of this word transgender. Because when a bloke like me can walk into a women's changing room and say, oh, no, I'm a woman. Look, I'm wearing a pink shirt. I don't actually even have to wear the pink shirt, by the way. Self-identification means it's just whatever is in your head. It's pure ego trip. It's all it is. Pure ego trip. It's got nothing to do with science. Science does not proceed on the basis of what people's feelings are. Science proceeds on what can be observed. And if your behaviour is masculine, the chances are you're male. That's simple, isn't it? So I think we need to get rid of this word transgender. It's meaningless, along with other meaningless words like non-binary, which there is no such thing as non-binary, by the way. Everybody is either male or female, or masculine or feminine. There are some people who it's a bit hard to tell, but that doesn't mean that not one or the other. There might even be people who are someone sometimes and the other time they're still binary. Sorry, there's no such thing as non-binary. Right? It doesn't exist. And as for the 167 airhead genders, none of them are real. Gender is directly linked to sexuality, and feelings that have not got anything to do with sexuality are not stimulative of gender. They don't provoke your gender, right? That's it. Yeah, okay, women tend to be more nurturing. Men tend to be more aggressive. That's not what gender's about, right? They are gendered feelings, but it's not what gender is about. Gender is about sex. It's about who you want to have sex with and how you want to have sex with that person. And the simple fact is, if you're born male, you really have a big lust for big, strong, hairy men, and you want them to penetrate you, that is a homosexual transsexual. That is a true transsexual. It's not a transgender. It's not a transvestite. It's a real transsexual. The AGPs like autogynephilic transvestites, like Bruce Jenner, Riley Dennis, Justin Riley Dennis, and ContraPoints, all the rest of them, they are just transvestites. They're not transsexuals at all. Oh, they might call themselves transgender, but because transgender is actually a meaningless word, it has no meaning now. And you can thank idiots like Julia Serrano in part for that. This is a totally meaningless word. Don't use it. You know, science proceeds on the basis of taxonomy, right? Particularly biology. We observe what a thing is, we classify it, we see how it relates to other things, we classify those relationships. It's really simple. It's nuts and bolts. It's not about airy-fairy feelings. It's not about subjectivity. It's about objectivity. Subjective feelings are meaningless. They don't have a function. That's just your ego playing games. Science is about objectivity. It's the business of taking ego out of it. That's why scientific method, by the way, involves many, many people peer reviewing papers, because it takes the individual writer's ego out. Everybody else comes along and tries to knock him down. Simple as that. It's a very effective and efficient system. That is the right way to look at the world. The postmodernist New Age way that has infected academia and so many other areas now, it has to be stopped, because it's all lies. Every single bit of it is lies. It's all totally subjective, meaningless piffle, rubbish, nonsense. You are not a woman just because you feel you're a woman. I am not a woman just because I'm wearing a pink shirt. Okay? It's utter tripe. If I'd had sexual feelings for masculine men all my life, been cross-dressing as a child, progressed to being a gender non-conforming adolescent, wanted sex with boys, wanted sex with older men and all that, well, yeah, I might well be transsexual. That's quite possible, you know. A huge number of so-called gay men in the West are actually transsexuals, but because of social conditions in the West, they don't feel that they can actually go that far. The very famous English author, Quentin Crisp, said close to the end of his life that he finally realised what he was, which was he was actually a transsexual. And of course this caused great horror amongst other gay men with obvious and conspicuous gender dysphoria, people like Peter Tatchell, for example, who've been fighting their dysphoria all these years, when the easiest thing for them would have been simply to go, fuck it, I'll get on the hormones and wear a dress, you know, and it would all be so much easier and so much simpler, and life would just fit, you know, because that's the problem for feminine homosexual males, is their life is a torment. It's a struggle all the time, because on one hand they have their own gender dysphoria, which is saying, you know, I'm not comfortable with this masculine stuff, but the gay community, the new gay man, telling them, oh, you're not allowed to be feminine, you must not be feminine. You know, I mean, what a thing to do to them. They're far better off just saying, screw you lot, I'm getting the hormones. That would actually give them a far better life. HSTS are socially and sexually women. Now, I did not say, and I will not say, biologically women, of course, because they're not biologically female. They're XY chromosomes, just like me. But they are so feminized that they're indistinguishable in social and sexual terms from women. And they really, really are. I believe me, you know, my girlfriend Sam is a girl. It's that simple. She's a girl. You know, and the way that she relates to me, and the way that we relate to each other, and the way that she puts up with my ridiculous moods and my grumpiness, and you know, my irritation when things aren't working out, you know, she just deals with it because she's a girl, and she wraps her exquisite, delightful character around all these problems and takes them away. You know, that's her nurturing side coming out. She says, nah, I'll fix this. I'll sort this out. I'll make sure it's okay, Rod. Don't worry, it'll be fine. And when you live in a country where, you know, I live in a foreign country, so sometimes things can be quite tricky here. Sam just fixes it. She fixes it exactly the same way as any other woman would. So, I think that we need to get back to basics. We have in the world, we have transsexuals, who are homosexual transsexuals. Okay, can be male or female, but they have the sexuality of the opposite sex and wish to live and love as the opposite sex. We have transvestites, who are cross-dressers. In male terms, they're cross-dressers because they fetishize the idea of themselves as women. It's a kind of narcissistic delusion. Then you have a lot of very confused young people who've been lied to, who think they might be transgender, and they're not. And that's it. So I think what we need to do is change the terminology. And we can say transsexuals are the HSTS, Pseudo-transsexuals are the autogynephilic, non-homosexual, fetishistic cross-dressers. And frankly, for the rest of them, well, I guess you're probably gender non-conforming, but that's meaningless. You know, I'm gender non-conforming. I'm wearing a pink shirt. So anyway, that was my thoughts on coming out as transgender. And as you can see, it's a fucking meaningless word. See you later, have fun.